Okay, it's one of those days that's a little bittersweet for our football program here, or I should say a week now. Randy Hedberg obviously will make an announcement to step away from football. On behalf of NDSU and its administration, some really former coaches that did a heck of a job here, who Randy had the privilege of working with, Chris Kleiman, Matt Entz, Tyler Roll, and Courtney Messingham, we all say thank you. We're all well aware of Randy's great work with the quarterback position here. It's actually pretty unprecedented. Development of four starting quarterbacks, and then many guys behind the scenes that were probably ready to go and never got a shot. Carson Wentz, Easton Stick, Trey Lance, Cam Miller. I can quite frankly, say this, all reached their full potential as college football players, and that's a big deal. But moreover, they became great preparers of the game, and they left here better men. And that just goes to show Randy's impact on the student body and the student athlete that we have here. Randy's impact in recruiting and personal relationships in the state and region will be very, very hard to replace. We'll need to be aware of that as a staff. It's going to be missed. Coach Hedberg not only impacted players, but his experience, knowledge, and wisdom has impacted all coaches that he's ever worked with. I'm forever grateful for the 4 years that I've spent with Randy. Specifically in 2024, his guidance and his mentorship was unbelievable and was big for us. Was big for us as a program. There were some moments where Randy came through clutch. Randy's a true competitor, an unbelievable teacher of the game, and so with that being said, Randy Hedberg.
Thanks, TP. I'd like to acknowledge some people right off the bat here. My wife over here, Dr. Sherry Hischlin, sacrificed a lot during the years, and also really good friends, Dave and Cheryl Smith over to my left here, and the coaching staff from NDSU. One thing you as a college coach, you probably spend more time with the coaches than you do your family during the course of a year, and that's one thing that gets lost in the fan base a little bit, the coaches and the sacrifices they make. But I really acknowledge the coaches, and I really want to mention the job that Tim did this year as the head coach here at NDSU. It's never an easy time to retire. It's the first time I've ever done it, so I don't know how to respond to it really, but there's never an easy time to do it. And there was time I got asked this question before, why do you do it now? And there's no easy time. I was able to have Cam Miller go out as a senior, but I really cherish the times I could have spent with Cole Payton and Nathan Hayes and Trey Drake and Xander Smith, the guys that are still in our program here with the Bison. And those are things I'm going to miss because we recruited those kids with the idea that they were going to be great Bison, and they will be great Bison. But I won't get a chance to work with them, so I'm going to miss that. So, with that being said, funny story here. I contacted my brother. My younger brother actually played for me in college way back when I first started coaching college football. He works at Minot State where I went to school. So I had to go check with him. I said, Rick, can you look? I don't know when I started coaching football at Minot State. And there was no record of it. And he said, well, I'll look at, so he found some yearbooks, and we concluded that 45 years is where back. It went 45 years back. So I said, I went with that. So I gave that to Ryan, 45 years. The next day, he says, Randy, I think you went 46 years. And I said, I don't remember that, but I guess my long-term memory is not as good as my short-term memory in that regard. But it's been a long journey. And one thing I want to mention, when I first started coaching, I got hired at Minot State as an assistant football and assistant basketball coach. And a lot of the coaches in the audience and a lot of people probably have heard this story. I've told it to the team a couple different times. So I started out doing that and working with admissions in the admissions office at Minot State. And after a while, after doing that for 2 years, I got elevated to the head coaching job, football job. But I kept my title as assistant basketball coach. So I'd coach football through December and then start basketball in January and coached, the rest of the basketball season. Did that for a couple years, and then, so I was head football and then assistant basketball. I did that for a couple years. And then the head basketball coach got fired in January, and I took over the head job in basketball. So I was a head football, head basketball coach with an 8-9 record, David. It wasn't very good, I'm just telling you. I went 8-9, but I thought it was a hell of a job getting through 17 games, 8-9. But anyway, that also, the basketball coach that let go, he also was the head baseball coach. I became the head baseball coach. So in one academic year, I was head football, head basketball, and head baseball coach. And that happened early in my career, and then settled down to being a football coach and all with it. So I have some experience in all those different sports coaching it, but football was my passion. So I'll open it up at that point and let you guys ask questions and go from there.
Coach, what's the response been like? Obviously, a few days since the announcement came out. Just kind of what's the response been like from your side as far as people reaching out and congratulations and things like that?
Well, there's been a lot. Yeah, there's been a lot. I've talked to a lot of people, primarily through text messages, and I got a lot of phone calls I got to return. I was going to wait to do that here in the next couple days. My wife and I were down in Dallas last week to watch Cam play in the East-West Shrine game. So we spent a lot of time, so we got away from those a little bit. But a lot of text messages from players and former coaches and friends. So as everybody knows, in coaching, as you coach the different places you've been at, and this NDSU is my 6th stop in college coaching, and it's the best stop I've had coaching here at 11 years that I've had. But you meet a lot of different people, and you work with a lot of different people, and you figure out quickly who the good ones are and who the not good ones are. And I've been very fortunate to be at NDSU and be with good ones, and that's always fun.
How important is it for you to, you mentioned this is the 6th stop and the best stop. How important is it for you to kind of be able to put a bow on things here at North Dakota State?
Well, yeah, that's kind of bittersweet because I think the Bison have a great future. They're only going to get better with the staff that TP's put together and the players. I think the Bison are going to continue to win. And the Bison were really good prior to me getting here and any of us getting here. And they'll continue to be good because of good players and good coaches that have been working with the Bison. So.
You concerned of going from 7 days a week working to 0?
Well, I should ask you because that's what you do. So you'd be a good resource. I'll use you as a resource for that one. So, any others?
Was there any thought of sticking around longer, Randy? What was the final decision? What pushed you over there?
I think, Mike, it was a case of, after the 23 season, and Tim mentioned a couple guys. When Coach Entz left and Coach Roll left, they were good friends of mine, and they left to take other spots. I didn't know what to do, but there were some things that happened during the 23 season that didn't sit well with me, and I made a vow to myself that I wanted to come back and right those wrongs that happened in 23, and we did that, and I say we. As a staff did that. So that's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to, it's nice to go out a national champion, that's for sure, and with good people, and there's no good time, Mike, it really isn't, and like I said earlier, I wanted to work with Cole, and I recruited Cole during the COVID time, and I talked to Cole about this last week. One thing about Cole Payton, we did all our Zooms because we couldn't do it in person stuff because of COVID. So we did it all on Zoom, and that guy wanted to learn so much, and so we went through the entire playbook almost with him on Zoom. It was pretty impressive, and I'm going to miss that part of it, working with those guys. But I don't know why this time, Mike. I don't know if there's a good time. I just decided that it was time to do it.
Was there a favorite moment? I know you won't say there was, but was there a favorite moment, a favorite victory, a favorite time?
Well, There was two, actually, that I can think of. The first game that I coached was at Iowa State, and TP can relate to this, Nick can relate to it. We fell behind 14-0. That was the first game of the season in 14. We fell behind 14-0, and we put 34 straight on them. That was pretty impressive. I remember going into the locker room after the game, and it was like the guys didn't think anything big about it. They just expected to win, and that was pretty impressive. And then the Iowa game, when we beat Iowa in 16, was another one that was big. And those ones, those type of games, you just, that's where you coach, because you coach in those big games. And that's what, as Bison, we play in big games. Everyone's a big game.
3 guys in the NFL, 1 maybe on his way. How does that happen in a FCS school? That's almost unprecedented.
Well, I don't know how to answer that, Jeff, but we've been very fortunate that guys, our system is such that it's a professional type system, how we play football. We huddle. Our quarterbacks make protection calls at the line of scrimmage, which is a key part of it. And as we've progressed from 14 to where we are in 24, I think our quarterback play it's more sophisticated now probably than it was in 14. I don't know if TP could relate to that a little bit. We've gotten a lot more involved with the quarterbacks and what they do during the course of a game. And I think it really sets up for them in their preparation. And our guys prepare. Easton, I've talked to Easton about this numerous times, and Carson, when we started with Carson, we had a weekly preparation schedule, and then it just morphed into more with Easton and different things with Trey, and then Cam took it, and now Cole will take it. Now, I think they prepare themselves each week in a way to get better and better, and that's the key thing. But, I think the biggest thing, and I've mentioned this about quarterback play, is when we recruit quarterbacks to NDSU, they got to have a passion to learn and a passion to get better. And if they have that, they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine in our system. And the thing about it is our guys, they're willing to stick behind. Cole Payton he stuck behind Cam for 3 years, and now Nathan Hayes and Trey Drake will do the same thing, and they'll stick with the Bison because it's a program that can develop them.
How much pride did you take in traveling across state, meeting people, and finding the underrated guys?
Oh, North Dakota's special to me in that regard. I can remember going and watching Cordell Volson play hoops, and Carson Schuning play hoops. I can remember those big linemen going out there, and I think basketball is really a good indicator for offensive linemen. And Cordell, I can still go through the locker room, and Cordell and Jake Cava having an argument who's the better basketball player between those two. I put Jake Cava, I said, Cordell Volson's better than you, Jake. So that happened. But Cordell could play, and Carson Schuning was a good player. And those guys were good athletes. The thing that's really neat, back in, I'm trying to remember the year, 2000, we played JMU in the title at 2017 or something. We had 5 9-man North Dakota kids on our 2 deep O-line. We had Carson Schuning, we had Luke Bacon, we had Bryce Mesner, we had Cordell Volson, and we had Tanner Volson. That was pretty impressive. And that was a big deal. Big deal.
Coach, what do you think, assistant coach at Minot State, Randy version of you, would think about this career that you've had, the people you've impacted in being a part of this game of football?
I don't know. That's a really difficult question to answer. I had great mentors at Minot State. I had guys that were a lot older than I that I used as mentors in coaching, and those guys, they helped me a lot. And I've grown as a coach. I didn't know a lot. I went in the National Football League as a rookie out of Minot State, and I played in the first regular season game as a rookie. I was really out of the league. There was no reason why I should be playing other than injuries. And going into coaching was the same way, just learning the game more. And, I've had the best time learning football here at NDSU, learning the game and getting better at the game. And that's been the last 11 years, just learning more about the game of football. And, we try to teach quarterback play. First of all, we try to teach them defense. And then they can relate the defense back to what we do offensively. And that's the number one thing I try to take away from coaching early in my career, because I didn't have that. I didn't have that in my coaching background to start out with.
Pride you taking Cam Miller's where he's at right now, because he was a kid who kind of got thrown into the fire as a true freshman. Maybe shouldn't have been put in that situation, but that's what it was. And then has gone from that to where he.
Yeah, I've talked about this before, Mike, and it's kind of interesting with Cam. He came in COVID, fall of 20, didn't play obviously. Then Trey declares for the draft, and Cam plays the spring of 21, which was, I don't know why we did that, but we did it. That season of 21, the spring, and I can remember playing in the game at Sam Houston, and I'm thinking was that a semi? I can't remember, that was a quarterfinal game at Sam Houston, and he played his butt off, but we came up short at the end. But from that point on, and the progress he made was unbelievable. And this year, having the season he did, he's as good as there is out there. As far as, and watching him play on last Thursday was impressive, and what he did in the Shrine game was really neat. And but he probably made more progress in his time here at NDSU than any of the other guys that I've worked with. He just got better and better and better. But then he was raised in a football family. His dad being his high school coach, and so he knew he had expectations, and he had the ability to wanting to get better. And I think that's the key thing with Cam.
Anything else for Randy?
Thank you.
Any questions for Coach Tim Polasek?
Coach, I guess, just overall seeing kind of how do you process, the next steps of losing just the wealth of knowledge that Coach Hedberg has been for you guys, and kind of how do you guys move forward as a staff now?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I've kind of been with four guys. I was thinking about that as Randy was talking about. Craig Bowl most recently, Marty English, a heck of a defensive coordinator, D-line coach. Ken O'Keefe, instrumental in some things at Iowa in the early days. And then obviously I would relate, this is a big deal. I'd relate Randy up there with Reese Morgan. And for those that don't know, should look at that and research. That guy coached 2 Outland Trophy winners, was a high school Hall of Famer, and then coached 20 years with Coach Ferentz. And so, you move forward. I mean, the world don't stop. It's kind of like how I answer some of the questions with a game or a loss. But we need to take note, and we need to make sure we're calling and dialing him up on asking him what made him successful or his players successful. I had a great phone call already with Easton Stick. I plan on getting on the phone with all of them. And then we'll put Jake Landry in charge of the quarterbacks. And I think Jake has got a good base, with the quarterbacks. But I'm sure Randy ain't going anywhere if we need him. He'll be here for advice like he always has been, and we're so excited about that. But you gotta start moving forward and taking the proper steps and put the staff together and rock and roll. We got to make sure North Dakota and the state of North Dakota knows how great North Dakota State is, and I don't think anybody did it better than Randy Hedberg.
Coach, you come back to Fargo when you knew that you were coming back to coach alongside Randy, what that mean to you to know that he was going to be in your room?
Well, I didn't know. I mean, honestly, that was a couple of weeks. I think Randy was talking about 3-4 weeks. I was really hopeful. I had my fingers crossed because whether it was this year or next, I thought, man, Coach Landry, our plan is working here, but I thought Coach Landry would have a chance to work side by side with him, whether it was 1 or 3 years. And me and Randy had good conversations, but that was unknown. I wasn't at all surprised, but also, Randy sometime last week came in and, hey, you got a second to talk? And it was pretty good, you know, but just grateful for the extra year as a head coach, being able to knock on his door several times and have that opportunity. And then, you know, going back to 14, 15, and 16 and watching him coach the quarterbacks, there were a lot of things that I took to Wyoming and tried to implement at very little success compared to Randy.
Fondest memory with Coach Hedberg either in this past year or in the previous tenure?
No, but the thing that always comes to mind, honestly, is just that he's a sports junkie. I think, you know, we try to minimize him to just this quarterbacks guy, and we forget that he, you know, was a really good head coach. There's stories of the St. Cloud game and Pat Perlis and Coach Bowl down there, and there's also just unbelievable sports knowledge. I think Randy's a guy I could always count on getting a text at 11 o'clock at night on a Thursday in the Mountain West game, and somebody did, TP, we can't have this happen, you know, and then I'll be able to call him. And so Randy's a night owl a little bit like me. But as far as being a sports junkie and loves the Minnesota Twins and those kind of things, that means a lot. That means a lot to me. And also, whenever I'm a little bit too intense or I get a little bit too excited, and I promise this is what I think about, would a guy like Randy handle things this way? You know, his professionalism sticks out at a first-class rate.
What do you think the legacy of Coach Hedberg is going to be, not just at NDSU, but for North Dakota sports overall?
Well, I don't. He's tied to 4 quarterbacks. I believe it's going to be 4 quarterbacks that get really good NFL opportunities. Okay, and then the next thing that I think of is, Randy, a 2 or 3 sport All-American as a player? Were you 3 sports or 2?
What? I was 3 sports.
Well, played 3 sports?
I was only good in 1.
Yeah. You know, I think a North Dakota legend, a man that's really passionate about NDSU. I think his legacy is going to be how he treated each and every person he came across with the same amount of respect. The 4 quarterback thing is a big deal. You know, the things that we're doing right now since 14, you know, we have put a lot on those guys' plates, and I think it's been done at an extremely high level.